Hey guys, this is Trevor with High Desert Tactical, and today I wanted to share my experience sighting in my Spitfire 3-power prism scope by Vortex using the EBR-556B Reticle. Now, just for information, this reticle is designed for the ballistics of a 55 grain bullet out of a 16-inch barrel. Now, the ammunition that I was using while sighting in this optic was some cheap American Eagle 55 grain 223 cartridge, just for your guys' information about what I'm going to talk about. So one of the things I found that was kind of confusing about the manual of the 55 or the EBR-556 reticle is that it was kind of interesting. Is it right here? It states, if you look at the reticle, here it is. It says 1 to 200 yards right on that crosshair. So is it 100 yards or 200 yards? So it kind of makes it a little difficult to understand. Like, is it if you sight it in for 100 yards right here, then this is 200 yards, 300 yards, and 400 yards? Or if you sight it in at 200 yards, then is it 300 yards, 400 yards, or 500 yards? It's kind of hard to understand. But when we were out sighting it in, Scott actually noticed something. If he looked at the top of this post in the bottom of this crosshair right here, this is the same distance as from right here to there. So he figured if we sighted in a target at the top of this post at 100 yards, then this would be 200 yards, 300 yards, 400 yards, and 500 yards. And after sighting it in, we actually found that that actually worked. Now, to kind of get a little backtracked, that another thing about the Vortex optic that I found kind of hard to understand is that they state that if your target is 15 inches across and this mark actually fits that 15 inches across, so like if you were aiming on a torso target and these bars right here matched across from side to side, then that would tell you your yardage. So if I was aiming at a 15-inch target across right here, then it would be 200 yards, I would assume, not 100 yards, but that doesn't make much sense. But if that's the case, then right here, if a target is, it's 15 inches across, then it's 300 yards away as long as it fits from side to side on this hash mark. The issue with that is that there's not many targets out there that are 15 inches across, especially if you're shooting at like a torso target. Usually they're 16 to 18 to 20 inches across or even bigger. So it makes it harder to range using this optic. So when we went out and actually ranged in this optic and sighted it in, we just used range finders. So what we did is we placed our target. What we were shooting at was after using paper, which was like basically a 20-inch paper, or circle, with a cold barrel, I was hitting a very tight group. I was basically doing 1-inch groups with a cold barrel. But what happened is that after my barrel warmed up, my group opened up by like 2 or 3 inches. So shooting with a warm barrel, it got a little bit more difficult. But even with a warm barrel, I was actually hitting this 10-inch gong at the top of this post at 100 yards. And so on. Even using the 200 yard mark, as we moved back from the target, it was right on the dot. 300 yards was getting a little hairy, but I was still driving them right in onto that 10-inch middle target. And then the farthest I got it to shoot was 430 yards. And what was going on is we actually had a 5.5 to 6 mile an hour wind coming in from my left, and which would have been the south. I guess it would have been the southeast, the direction we were aiming at, but I couldn't honestly tell you, and I'm not going to get into sniper lingo with you guys or not about that. But what I was doing was, at 430 yards, that 10-inch disc or gong was actually just barely wider than this crosshair right here, just barely, so you could barely see it. So when I got it in right here in this vicinity, it was actually starting to get hard to see. So using that wind value, I knew that I would have to hold it over, towards my left a little bit for that round. So I was taking that gong and just nestling it in right on that little nook right there, and I was driving them in. Like, I shot, I think roughly 20 rounds, and I hit about 15 of those 20 I'm thinking a little bit, probably 12. I probably hit 12, which was pretty good. So the farthest I've gotten this optic sighted in is 430 yards, and that was actually not shooting consistent ammo. I mean, it was just cheap American Eagle stuff. So the next time I go out, I'm hoping to get a little bit better, more accurate, or a little bit more constant ammunition for the testing. And I'm going to really try to get out to 500 yards with this puppy. But we're probably going to move into a big piece of steel Scott has that's about 16 inches in width and 36 inches in height, which will be interesting because then I can actually put that 15-inch distance test right to the test and see if these crosshairs actually range correctly or not. So that's kind of my experience using the Vortex Spitfire 3-power scope with the EBR-556 reticle. If you guys have any questions, just put them down in the comments down below and I'd be glad to get back to you. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe or like or hate the video. It'll at least tell me how I'm doing. But other than that, you guys take care and I will catch you later.